birthday. Oh, wrong thing. Wrong button. 1 second.
Minds running wild, stories yet untold. Blinded by the fences they can comprehend. Thinking their wolves, their illusions won't end. Oh, can't you see, oh sheep so lost? Dancing with wolves at a high cost. Break down the fences, regain your sight. Embrace who you are in the pale moonlight.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. This is No Soundbites Allowed. I am your host, Michael Voss, Dragon of the Southern Tier. I'm happy to be here with you today. And here's Khan. Khan is going to wish you a very happy New Year's. This is from Khan. He's my puppy. Hi. See, he looks so cute. Yeah, he's a good boy. He was the reason why we had to stop before. Oh, thank you. All right. I had to jump off a little bit before. Had to take him out and walk. And so that's why we had to stop. I hope everyone is still with us. We still have the comments from earlier in the chat, so that's always good. And we're going to pick up talking about 2024, about the 2024 election, Trump on the ballot, some of the things, some of the predictions we have for 2024, and how they're going to affect you, not just in the United States, but around the world, but with an emphasis, of course, on the United States. And looks like Restream, let's see. Yep, we're up on Rumble. Everything looks to be up and ready. So let's kind of step back a little bit. Well, actually, first I want to let you know about, there was some breaking news while we were on before, and I just want to address that a little bit very quickly before we get into the ballot, the elections, and how that's going to affect everyone. So one of the items that came up is, obviously, there were some spy programs that got approved last year. This is coming from the Mother Jones, came out 2 days ago. The FISA courts, the secret courts, the secret judges and charges and accusations of the United States were reaffirmed, and they will continue in 2024. So I want to say hello to all the members of the FBI, the CIA, the DOD, and the DOJ that are watching this program. And by the way, for people who don't know, I have files on with each of these in these agencies of the United States government, and they do watch this program on a pretty regular basis. So hi guys, good to see you all here. Yes, keep expanding that FISA file that you have on me that I know exists. I don't care. I will continue to speak the truth no matter what. Let's continue from there, though. There was some other breaking news that we saw after we had finished before, and I want to address that very quickly. And that is, of course, Queen Marguerite of Denmark has now stated she has abdicated. She has now basically, she retired. For Americans who don't deal with monarchy, she was the queen. She was queen for 52 years. As of January 14th, 2024, she will have been the queen of Denmark for 52 years. She will abdicate, and her son will become the king of Denmark. This is a normal process. I believe she's 83 now, so she's still alive, and she's having a great life, but it's time to move on. Now, will the King of Denmark be like King Charles in the United Kingdom? Will they take a more progressive stance, pushing things like the eco-fanatical change, climate change? Will they try and move along with Macron of France, trying to separate, to divest Europe from the United States, to focus more on China and Chinese politics and to get on their good side? I'm not quite sure, but this will be interesting, and this could have an impact, especially if they do take the role like we saw in France with Macron, that they're going to try and jump on the bandwagon, joining communism, joining the Chinese Communist Party, and being more aligned with them These are important factors because if we are correct, and there are 3 regional wars going on in the world in 2028, Southeast Asia will be critical. And having parts of Europe aligned with China against the United States, against the United Kingdom, against Japan and South Korea, that will be a major factor. It will disrupt many people's lives, not just in terms of economies, but we could see a further conflict, not just with Western Russia, Western Europe, with Russia attacking or pressuring Poland, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Moldova. Not only will we see that pressure, but you could see internal strife within Europe, Eastern Europe, where we're going to see even more strife, which would deal with, actually, it's the other way around. It's Western Europe. Okay. Most of mainland Europe taking the side of China in the Southeast Asia. This could be very bad going forward into the future. That being said, but I want to really focus, because we were talking about that for about 2 hours. But when we had last left, I was talking about, nope, that wasn't it. There it is, Maine. We were talking about Maine. We were talking about President Trump and ballot access, which I think is a really big deal. I think this is very important. Now, as I mentioned before, the Secretary of State of Maine is taking Trump and removing him from the ballot because of feelings, because she has made an accusation. Her accusation is backed up or is based upon, stands on the decision by the Colorado Supreme Court. The Supreme Court of Colorado, which is not the Supreme Court of the United States. For those who watch the program from around the world, not the same thing. Colorado is a state-level Supreme Court, not the United States Supreme Court. This will be appearing before them within the first quarter of 2024. Before the end of April, you will hear from the Supreme Court of the United States making a decision on this, which we are absolutely sure will say that President Trump must be on the ballot in Colorado and be available in Maine. Maine doesn't have a primary, they have a caucus. But if you say that you cannot write in Trump, if you cannot allow him to be considered, then it's the same thing. It works out to the same thing. So that's the thing. Maine has made their decision based on the judges in Colorado. 4 Democratic judges, 3 were against it, 3 Democrats were against it, but 4 said that President Trump felt like he was an insurrectionist. President Trump has not been convicted. Due process is being denied. And this is really big because they love to say, well, the 14th Amendment, the 3rd section, they love to point at that, but they fail to do their homework. They fail, well, not really even fail. They are counting on the fact that the American people will not do their homework and will not actually look up what does the 14th Amendment actually say. And I'm going to go into why this is important for you, the individual. This is critical for you, the American citizen, to understand this because of what this will do to you going forward. Because they have established that you are not a human being, that you do not count, that you're not important. It isn't just your vote doesn't matter. You, as a human being, do not matter because you're no longer a human being. And I will explain what I'm saying there because I know it's a very strong statement. And you will see in the links, here we go. And you will be able to see in the link everything that we're talking about here. So you'll be able to comment on this directly. You'll be able to link to this after the show. But this is the 14th Amendment. And the thing that they're very, very harsh about, what they're focusing on, is that if you have supported an insurrection, well, then or rebellion, an insurrection or a rebellion, well, then you cannot run for an elected office. It has been well covered by many people that this was put in place to stop the Confederates after the American Civil War, to prevent them from getting in. Except it wasn't for all of the Confederates. Just because you happened to be in Kansas or you were in Kentucky or you were in South Carolina did not mean you could not run for elected office, even though that was a Confederate state. Did you break the oath of the United States? Did you have an elected office beforehand, swore the oath to the United States, and then became a Confederate and were part of the Confederate system and fighting the Civil War? That's what the 14th Amendment was about. But it does say an insurrectionist or a rebellion. So President Trump has never been convicted of insurrection. In fact, he was exonerated of insurrection. So he starts in the United States, you are innocent until proven guilty. Therefore, he started as innocent, was accused by Democrats, was impeached, which means they went to a trial. He was found innocent, exonerated. He remains innocent. And now it is a judge on their own, 4 judges just decided, you know what? He's an insurrectionist. You can't do that in America. You may be able to do that in Cuba, North Korea, China, and Venezuela. You may be able to do that in many of the socialist nations in the world. You cannot do that in the United States. You can't just accuse someone of a crime, although we have been seeing that grow. We've seen that coming out of Harvard, out of Cornell, out of Cooper Union. We've seen this movement which says, well, because you have been accused by someone with a title, then it must be true. A judge said so, so it must be true. But that's not the case. In fact, that is an aberration of the truth, aberration of the facts. And I want to show you, here it is. Because they're counting on the fact that most Americans are not actually looking at the law, that most Americans have not actually seen the truth, seen the law itself, the Constitution, or the amendments. And as you can see here, what it says very clearly is that you have a right to due process. The 14th Amendment, first section, you can't get to the third section without going through the first, which means no state, no part of the United States government can accuse you of something and deny you the right to have it proven in court. You have to go through the legal system. You have to prove guilt, not just the accusation. You have to prove guilt. Something that is missed in Harvard and missed in Columbia and Binghamton University. The colleges have forgotten. You have to still prove guilt. Just because you feel like something is true doesn't make it true. So many of them are like, look at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, another graduate of our elitist college system who believes, as she said in 60 Minutes, it doesn't matter if something is empirically true, mathematically true, semantically true. It didn't matter what the truth is. It's all about feelings. How does she feel? That's what she was taught at college, that her feelings were more important than the truth. And that's what we're seeing now. Judges who also graduated from these very same institutions have a feeling that they are right, that Trump is an insurrectionist. That's not the fact. The fact of the United States is he's innocent and therefore not an insurrectionist. He did not swear an oath to another form of government or to take down the United States government. That didn't happen. He didn't commit a rebellion. He never told anyone to go down and stop Congress from doing anything. He didn't ask anyone to break any buildings or to cause any disruption. He didn't, in fact, all he did say was end violence, follow the law. That's what he actually said. So he is, by all fact, not an insurrectionist. Until a judge or court actually were to prove otherwise, he is not an insurrectionist. And to call him as such is a crime. It is denying him his due process. He should be able to sue for slander and libel, and he should be able to sue against the states of Maine and Colorado. That being said, and that is an important part of this, that is absolutely an important part. That's not the most important part. Because this isn't going to change the 2024 election. It doesn't have any impact. Maine wasn't going to vote for President Trump. Colorado isn't going to vote for President Trump. California, New York, Illinois, they're not voting for President Trump. That doesn't change anything. It doesn't change the electoral math, whether he is or isn't on the ballot. It does affect whether or not Biden can claim that he won those states in a landslide, because you're not allowing President Trump to be on the ballot or even to be written in. And it's a way to try and push to support the Republican challengers of President Trump. See, President Trump is winning hands down amongst Republicans because Republicans, unlike Democrats, actually support him. And that's not just something that I'm just saying. It's not something I'm just making up. It's a fact. Let me show you. And again, we support everything that we say on this channel. We have factual basis on everything. This is coming from Real Clear Politics. And when we look at Real Clear Politics, what do we see? We see that, let me bring that up. There we go. President Trump has about 62% at any given moment, about 60%, 60, 62, 63% of support amongst Republicans in his bid for the 2024 election. Being removed from the ballot in Colorado and Maine will not change that. He will still become the nominee of the Republican Party. And this is just partisanship. This is the Democrats trying to find some way to either shake up the confidence of Republicans in President Trump or to take low information voters and eliminate them. This is about voter nullification. At the end of the day, this is about voter nullification. Hang on. Yep. So the comments are there. By the way, you can comment on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Rumble, and I am following this, so I do want to hear what you have to say. But this is all about voter nullification. This is about discouraging people from being able to go and vote. That's what this is ultimately about, because it doesn't change the electoral process. Trump's still going to win the Republican states. We're going to see Joe Biden maybe win most of those states. RFK Jr., he's going after 7 states on his own. He'll probably only have a chance at 5 of them. And so he's still going to go, and he may actually win probably one of them. But he'll get in. So you're going to see nothing change there. This doesn't affect Ohio. It doesn't affect Pennsylvania. It doesn't affect the swing states, other than it will disencourage voters. It will tell people who don't follow this. If you're a low information voter, you only follow headlines, it'll make Democrats who are never Trumpers even more sure they weren't going to vote for Trump anyway, even though they don't want Biden. 72, between 68 and 72% of Democrats don't want Biden, but they never want to see Trump. So now they're just more convinced, but they weren't going to change anyway. No, it's the low information voter that goes, well, I guess if Trump isn't on the ballot and I can't vote for him, I'll have to pick someone else. Maybe I'll vote for RFK. Maybe I'll vote for the Libertarians, like Mike Termott or one of the others. No, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to change a small percentage of the independent vote that doesn't know what's going on to either not show up or to vote for someone other than Trump, to write in a different name. Again, not making the biggest difference. Really doesn't change the math, but it is a way to nullify votes. And that's what 2024 is going to be all about. It is an attempt, and we will see this grow, to accuse people of crimes. Oh my God, you're MAGA. And somehow MAGA is evil, because you're not supposed to think, well, MAGA means make America great again. What's wrong with America being great? Earlier in the show, in the earlier live stream, had the opportunity to ask a gentleman. Larry was asking a question, Mike, but that's MAGA. Okay, what's wrong with MAGA? What's wrong with making America great? What's wrong with making the United Kingdom great or making France great? If it's your home country, don't you want it to be the greatest country it can be? But no, now that is considered a slur. And we're seeing people use that as an accusation. You're MAGA, so therefore you must be bad. You must be evil. You have to be punished and ostracized, left alone. And now this is groupthink. This is mob mentality to try and push people, to coerce them to toe the line, to keep their heads down, stay silent, and do what they are told. This is about making you a submissive slave, essentially. You're a serf or a peon. It isn't about your freedom. No, they're taking that away step by step. Now, let me pause for a second in talking about this because we do have a special message coming in. We have a special message coming in just for the audience who came back.
Hi.
There goes sister. That's
Happy
right.
New Year.
Oh, come on. Stick in.
Am I not in here for
there you go.
Happy New Year, everybody.
That's it. That is the infamous sister. And she wanted to say Happy New Year. Actually, she didn't. I did. Made her do it. That's the joy of being the oldest. I can get her to do things sometimes. Sometimes, not often. So that's something a little extra. You got to see my puppy Khan. He gave you a New Year's, Merry New Year's wish. Now my sister did as well. But my point was talking about what's happening to voters. You're being disenfranchised. You're being nullified. You're being told you don't have a right. See, they're using the 14th Amendment in a manner as to nullify your existence, to make you non-human. Because again, as I showed you, the 14th Amendment says that every American citizen has the right of due process, that no state, no government agency can take away your rights without having proven guilt, a justification for taking whatever right away from you, which is what they're trying to do to Trump. He doesn't count as an American citizen. He's an insurrectionist. He's a rebel. He's someone who has done something wrong, except they skipped the part of proof, because there is no proof of that. But if that can happen to Trump, a former president, a candidate for a leading candidate on the Republican Party and leading in national polls against Joe Biden, if they can do it to him, a billionaire, what are they going to do to you? You don't have the legal team that Trump has. You don't have the political partisan support that Trump has. You don't have tens of thousands of people making donations to support you. You don't have legal teams there across in various states looking out for your best interest. You don't. So when they turn around and those very same graduates of the elitist schools, those very same people who've been indoctrinated to believe that if you have been accused of anything by anyone with a title, then you're guilty, what are you going to do? The answer from the masses are stay quiet, accept it, and then change your ways. You better change. Oh, you did this because they accused you, so therefore you must be guilty. We've seen this with Me Too. How many people have been accused of Me Too and then proven innocent? More than one, quite a few. How many people have been railroaded because of that? How many people, red flag laws, we've seen it with that as well, where your neighbor, someone down the block, literally a part-time badminton coach, can look at your kids in states with red flags, many of them, and look at your kid and go, you know what? I saw your dad or your mom, they had a tweet, they had a post, they're MAGA, and I know they have a firearm. You know what? I'm going to take their gun away because the kid looks tired. I don't know, maybe you were sledding, you got in a fight with your best friend, you woke up late, whatever the reason, and they're going to go to a judge and say, well, you know what? I think they're dangerous because the kid's tired and, maybe he got in a fight And I know their family owns a gun, and so they're dangerous people. And I know they bought a baseball bat. Yes, yes. Check your red flag laws in your state. In virtually every single state, if you buy a baseball bat, if you buy a steak knife within 6 months earlier of that person saying you're a danger to yourself and others, that counts as a deadly weapon. And in almost every single state, that gives the judge the right to say, yep, they bought a deadly weapon. They've got these insurrectionist MAGA tweets. Go and take their firearms. Go and take their guns. Take their kid while you are at it. Because if that house is so dangerous that we have to take away someone's Second Amendment right, we have to take their kids. The house is too dangerous as well. Take their kids too. Mind you, you haven't committed a crime. No crime has been committed. Matter of fact, no one even accused you of having a crime. They just didn't like what you had to say. They felt like you were dangerous. And because they felt you're dangerous, now the court's allowing them to take your property, take your kids. You have to spend the next year or two spending $20,000 trying to get back your kid and or your firearm. And people will go, Mike, but that's not true. Yes, it is. Talk to any of the 18 states that have passed the red flag laws. Talk to the attorney generals. Talk to the attorneys in each and every state. I have. I've even talked to members of Congress and members of state legislatures in half a dozen of the 18 states, including New York State, which has red flag laws. And every single lawyer, every single state official agrees that this can and does happen. You're just not told about it. You're just not told that this is the consequence, that someone can weaponize these legislations, this accusation to punish your life. And now they're doing it with voting. Very much so. This is happening. And yes, it's happening to Trump, but really it's happening to you. Trump's going to still win the Republican red states. He'll probably win the swing states without Colorado or Maine or California or New York or Illinois. He doesn't need them. He can still win. They didn't take away his ability to win the election. They took away your right to vote. They took away your humanity without ever having due process, without ever showing up in a courtroom. They said, not only have they said you can't vote for him, but they're saying you can't write his name in for a caucus or as a candidate. That's what Colorado's done. That's what Maine is doing. They say you don't have the right to choose someone the state says is worthwhile. The state, they have a title. It's the state government. They have the choice. No. That's not what the Constitution says. That's not what America is built on. I could write in Donald Duck, Mickey Mouse. I could write in George Jetson, George Santos. I could put in AOC. I could write in anyone's name I want in any ballot anywhere in America. I'm an American citizen. That is my right. The government doesn't have to like it. I could be the only one making that vote if I want to. It doesn't matter because that's my vote. That's my voice. It's my choice. And if I want to protest and say, okay, I'm going to vote for Fred Flintstone, or maybe I'm a libertarian and I believe that the best candidate is Larry Sharp, or maybe you happen to be part of the Green Party, or you have a candidate, I don't know, whomever. Maybe you think it's Nikki Haley or Vivek Ramaswamy, or maybe you think it's RFK Jr. That's your right. Whether it's a real person running or not, it's your right as a human being with rights given to you by birth by God. And they're trying to transform it into rights allowed to you by government. We're turning into every other nation in the world. And I know people who are looking at this. Cordisco, I'm going to come right back to you. Hot Chicks, thank you for giving us a comment. we're turning into every other country in the world. And I know my audience who are in Sweden, who are in Italy, who are in India, who are in Peru and Canada, and all these other countries, and of course the United Kingdom, you guys are looking at me going, but Mike, no one has that right. In America, we do. In America, we have the right to choose whomever we want. It's like the old Soviet Union. They used to put up, there would be a candidate, and one of the candidates was dead. And the other candidate was the Communist Party candidate. And you had the right to choose. The government had made the choice for you. Now you just had to affirm what the government told you. And you didn't have a choice to write in another name. And in many countries, Uganda, Angola, we see this as well. Nigeria, where they don't have the right to make a choice that isn't already given to them. But the United States is the beacon of freedom. We are a representative democracy. We have the right to pick. As citizens, we have the right to choose whomever we want. And the First Amendment backs that up by saying we have that freedom to criticize and to critique, which means I have the right to say I'd rather see Fred Flintstone than Joe Biden any day of the week. I would rather have Judy Jetson rather than Kamala Harris. And they're cartoon characters, and they're still more human and more logical than Kamala Harris. I have that right. And the government cannot take that away, except that's what they're doing. And if they're taking away a God-given birthright, which is to make a choice on your own, by your own volition, if they're taking that away from you, are you really human? Are you a citizen? It redefines everything. And this is the big thing in 2024. That's the thing I want to focus on for 2024. It's going to be a year where people are going to be accused of things and denied the God-given guaranteed right to defend themselves or to face their accuser or to even be charged with a crime. And we're seeing that grow and grow because of the indoctrination in our education system, where we have seen more and more that progressive left have already made the decisions for the kids. It's kind of like what we saw in Iowa. Matter of fact, I have that here. Where is it? Iowa. Here, in Iowa. Same thing's happening. In Iowa, the argument is, well, the school libraries funded by the public, by taxpayers, should have the right to show kindergarten children pornographic material. I want to be very clear here, and this is coming from Iowa. A judge has just said and made the decision that, I believe, there it is. They have made the decision that children in kindergarten, 6-year-old kids can be shown sexually explicit materials. That's okay. That's First Amendment right. Mind you, the 6-year-olds don't have any rights. Until you're an adult, you're covered. The government, and more importantly, your parents, will assume your rights and will protect you. And if your parents can't protect you, then the government will step in to protect your rights, because as a child, as a minor, you don't understand the consequences that are happening. So they have to step up and they will protect you because you are defenseless. You are innocent. Ultimately innocent. So they have to protect you above and beyond what they would do for any other adult. If you tell me someone who's 18 and they want to see whatever kind of written documentation, fantastic. Go into wherever you want and read whatever you want. If it wanted to be sexually explicit, if it's about sexual preferences, I don't care what it could be. You could read Mein Kampf. I don't care. That's on you. Whatever reason you have to do so, go right ahead. But we're talking about children, and in particular, we're talking about kindergarten. Is there anyone on the left that will actually stand up and explain why a child in kindergarten has to be shown sexually explicit materials. We're talking about stuff that would be in Playboy, stuff that's found on Pornhub. Why? Why do they need to have access to that? Why do they need to see that and be shown that? In kindergarten, they don't. There is no excuse for that. There is no reason why they need this sexually explicit, age inappropriate materials. And the ban, which by the way, this applies not, and I know a lot of people are trying to say, well, it's about gay, it's anti-gay, anti-trans, it's transphobic. No, it's not. It applies to straight sex too. It applies to heterosexuals. So let's be very clear here. I could care less whether it's gay sex or straight sex or, I don't know, two toasters having sex. I could care less. It's still inappropriate for the kids, and there's no justification for it. It's unnecessary. And to have a ban, and the reason why they have the ban is because there are teachers who are taking the opportunity. You've seen them. They're on the libs of TikTok. You've seen their videos on TikTok and their shorts where they're saying they're going to change your kid, that they are in fact going after your kid. They're going to indoctrinate your kid. They're going to give your kid information you would never want that child to have until it's age appropriate. And they're going to force it on them. They're going to shove it down their throat so that's all the kid knows, so that the kid is following what the teacher said, not parents. They've already admitted that. Video after video, short after short, libs of TikTok have famously shown us this. So you can't say, oh, well, there's no nefarious aspect to this. There is. Again, it's because you're being nullified. And they use the accusation, oh, well, you're a transphobe. You're homophobic. Well, you're sexist. You're racist. They use these terms against you so that you shut up, that you become silent, that you obey. And every time they go after one person with this and they try to cancel them, they're the example so that the other dozen or 100 or 1,000 people who see this will suddenly go, I don't want to have to go through that. I don't want to have to deal with that. I don't want to be punished in that way. Rather than saying, wait a minute, that's an American citizen. You can't do that to them. That's not only is it unfair, it's unlawful. You can't do that to a human being. They have a right. We're talking about grown adults. They have a right, but they're trying to take that away step by step. They're trying to deny you your God-given rights, and they're trying to impose the rights of government. This is what 2024 will be about. It will be about deciding, can government have more power over your life than you do? Can the government tell you who you can and cannot vote for? Can they strip you of that right? And if they can take that away from you, well, that makes you that much less human. That makes you that much less a citizen. And I think that's incredibly important. If they can strip that away from you, if they can take that away, then can you truly say you're a human being, that you're a citizen? Because they're saying, no, you're not. I think it's devastating when we think about it, when we really look at this. And you're going to see this more. They're creating more and more laws, like the red flag laws, more and more laws that go along with the Me Too movement. All of this accusation equals guilt. When someone says, oh, well, you're a racist. We see this in entertainment all the time. How many news media papers, when you see all the critics, oh, you didn't like Star Wars. Well, you must hate women. No, I just don't like what J.J. Abrams and Ryan Johnson, I don't like the story they told. I thought it sucked. Oh, but but it must be because you hate women. Oh, I didn't like Rebel Moon. What? Well, you just don't like women and you don't like black people. No, I think it's a stupid story. Way too much slow-mo. And my God, it made no sense. We didn't build up to anything. I'm more interested in the robot. Well, Mike, there's something wrong with you. You're an estenophobe. You have to like it. Why? Because the protagonist is a woman? That's not a reason. Oh, because all of the good guys happen to be a person of color and all the bad guys are exclusively white people. Oh, excuse me, exclusively white males. So I have to agree. No, that's not a reason. What is the character doing? What is the character promoting? What are the morals? What's the motivation? What's the storyline? That's what's important. Not the color of the skin, not the gender preference. I could care less about any of those things unless it has something to do with the plot, the morale, the motivation. Otherwise, it's useless. It's fluff that's just wasted on us. I don't care about, what did they call it? The Raylo, Kylo Ren and Rey. I could care less about that. It was a waste of time. If anything, having them kiss ruined the movie. It's kind of like when Finn was kissing, what's her name? The Asian chick. I could care less. Why? Because I didn't like her character. I didn't like the arc that they went on at the casino in The Last Jedi. No. Was it The Last? Yeah, The Last Jedi. I did not like that. Had nothing to do with their gender, had nothing to do with the color of their skin. It had nothing to do with their, I don't know, their religion, if they had one. I could care less. But we are seeing over and over again, as we get into 2024, this election season, you must comply or you are the problem. And as long as someone, it could be a news agency, newspaper, it could be a critic in a newspaper, it could be the newspapers themselves, it could be social media giants, someone with a large following, it could be a lawyer, a doctor, it could be anyone that has a title. If they have authority, they'll say, oh, and I feel, and then you're supposed to obey. Because that's what happened in Colorado, that's what happened in Maine. That's ultimately what we are really fighting against. And when the Supreme Court comes out and says, no, that's wrong, that doesn't end the story, because the precedent was a judge could insert their feelings, and a Secretary of State could inject their feelings and subject the public. The government has more rights and power than the individual. And that turns America into just another third world nation. That's what they're doing. Because again, the progressives, the whole idea of the progressive movement is to make America just another country, to take away American exceptionalism, to kill American exceptionalism and potential, and turn us into everyone else. And they're doing that because they can't make everyone else exceptional. Because if everyone's exceptional, no one is. But it's a lot easier to take America and bring us down to the level, the type of government, the same kind of problems that everyone else in the world has, rather than to lift up the rest of the world to our level. And they know that if they had more freedom in the world and people were able to write in who they want to vote for, and people had more rights to choose, and they had more knowledge about what's going on, well, then the progressive left would lose their power. If people were taught and were actually doing what we did in the 50s, where we would actually do the homework, do the research, see what is being said, and confirm, did Donald Trump actually say that? Did AOC or Nancy Pelosi, did Chuck Schumer, did they actually say this statement? Oh, they didn't. Someone else made it up. Because I can actually see the speech. We can actually go to the video now. We can actually go to C-SPAN. We can actually see the unedited actual speech that they made, because we have instantaneous confirmation available to us. We can look up the laws like I just did with the 14th Amendment. We can actually look up the laws in the legislation and actually see, what does it actually say? The Second Amendment's only about hunting and recreation? Really? Let me look up the Second Amendment. Does it actually say that? No. It doesn't say anything at all like that. So you just made it up because you want to restrict me from being able to use a firearm unless I'm hunting or recreation, which you can then control. But that's not what it says. That's not even close to what it says. So you don't have that right. It actually says you have no right to stop me from owning a firearm. Oh, I'm not supposed to know that part. I'm just supposed to accept the 30-second statement from some talking head because they got approved, because they got a job, because someone said, you look good on TV, you say this line. And they did. And I'm supposed to believe them because some actor, an actor, a person who makes believe for a living, a professional pretender, said, oh, they have a feeling. I don't care. I quite honestly, I don't care what they feel. What makes them important? LeBron James, he can bounce a ball really well. That doesn't make him a scholar, a legal scholar. He has no more opinion about politics than most anyone. I have been working in politics for 2 decades. LeBron does whatever he's told to do and he gets a check. When China said, we'll give you a bigger check, say China is great, he did. That's not integrity. That's not knowledge. Really, ask him about the Uyghurs. Anyone. I wish someone would ask him about his position on the Uyghurs and what China has done to them, or the Chinese, the leadership, elected leadership in Hong Kong. Why don't you ask him about that? But instead, what we're getting is Nikki Haley. I have this? Let me bring this up. Nikki Haley. Where is it? There it is. Let me show you something, folks. This is where 2024 is going. So Nikki Haley was asked, I think it was 2 days ago, and Nikki Haley was asked about slavery. Okay? And CNN, they're beating up on her on this. Nikki Haley, someone in the audience, got to ask a question, town hall, talking to Nikki Haley, basically the number 2. DeSantis is out. He's out of the race. It's either Nikki Haley or Donald Trump. Nikki Haley came up and she said, he asked her about slavery. What did she think about slavery? Was slavery a big part of the Civil War? And Nikki Haley said, yeah, it was a part, but it was about government. Really, the Civil War wasn't about slavery. Now, when the thing I think that's really interesting that CNN buries, I mean, look at it, they buried it in the middle of the article, is when the person who asked the question was asked to confirm what did they think how important slavery was to the Civil War. Their answer was, oh, I'm not running for president. Yeah, but that's not the question. That's a deflection. You aren't asked, should you run for president? You were asked, what do you think was the major factor? Is there something that Nikki Haley did not understand or did not convey? Do you think she's wrong or right that slavery was a part of the Civil War, but it wasn't the major factor? And to be honest and to be fair, it wasn't. The Civil War wasn't about slavery. Now, you may say, was it about government and whether or not individuals have a right to choose? You can make that argument. That's part of it. The biggest thing was, of course, economy, that the South was agrarian and the United States was an agrarian economy. And so most of the money being made in the United States was from all the cotton and the wheat that cotton and tobacco that we were able to export. So that was where our money was. And although it was shifting into a more industrial north, so it was about economics and who had the power of the economy going forward for America. Would America focus more on farming or would we focus more on industry? That was the biggest question of the Civil War. And in fact, Lincoln, a week before announcing the 14th Amendment, the Emancipation Proclamation, 1 week beforehand, he wrote in the New York Times of the day an editorial and explained explicitly that if he could keep slavery, he would. If it meant that the Union, that the nation would come together and be one again. I want to be very clear about that. The abolitionist, Lincoln, said that if he could keep slavery and keep America whole, he would have. Okay? Slavery wasn't why we had the Civil War. The economy and the future direction of the United States, that's why we had the Civil War. And then, as the war continued, slavery had to be resolved. It was an underlying current and it had to be resolved. And since they were already fighting, they included it. Now, I understand that's not the romantic version you get to hear. It's not the one that the political activists who are all about nothing but racism, 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 the race baiters out there like Nina Turner, they're out there and they're constantly talking about racism, racism this, racism that. You're a racist, they're a racist, everything is racist. That's because that's their job. Nina Turner, Ilhan Omar, Anna Presley, they don't get paid. They don't make any money unless they're constantly calling someone a racist. In fact, we saw America in the 80s going into the 90s. The America was more integrated in less than a generation. We had gone from the 1960s and the civil rights movement into a very integrated society that didn't reverse again until we saw that all of the race traders out there, all of the individuals who need racism to make money, well, they came back. And we saw that again with, the BLM movement in 2015. Oh, people were unifying under Obama. They elected. We've advanced so much. In 2 generations, we now have a black president, something that people my age, back in the 1980s, we never thought it would happen. Not in our lifetime. Obama would never win. No black man would ever win the presidency in our lifetime. It would happen eventually. It happened in 2 generations. Oh, well, America's not that bad off. We've advanced so much. We've done so much to correct the problems of the past that a man, not only did he get to become a member of the Senate, not only that, but he also became president. And then he got reelected as president. How can we be such a horrible racist nation if we elected a black man and then reelected him? Oh, we're not that racist. 24% of Congress are women and minorities. Oh, really? That many? Yes. Oh, they want more, but they always want more. Progressives, but that's not enough. I didn't ask you if it's enough. That's a different question altogether. What is enough? What's the number of enough? I mean, you always ask this of progressives and the Democrats when I hear this. Oh, what's enough? Give me the number. How much taxes should be taken away from you to be given to someone else? How much money is going to be given to that next person? Oh, they don't have a number. It's just the rich have too much money. What? They always defer this. Thomas Sowell said it very well. I mentioned it in the earlier live stream. The left never has to justify their failure. When their policies don't work, they don't have to justify it. Their answer is, we just need more time. We need more money. We need more resources. Give us more money, more resources, and more time, and we will eventually figure it out. Because the left is making money. Their careers are based on there's a problem. And the problem can never go away. The government can never resolve or fix the problem because then they lose their power. They lose their job. They lose their income. They don't want solutions. They want you to live with it. They want you to live with the problem so that they can make money off of you living with the problem. Same reason why pharmaceutical companies don't cure diseases anymore. You live with them. Why? More money's in the cure. There's more money in you constantly living with the problem than curing it. And this is what we're seeing in 2024. You're going to live with the problem, which is you don't have a choice. You don't have freedom. And I predict that in 2024, we will see more and more voters have their vote nullified because you have to live with the fact that the government gets to choose who you get to have on a ballot, who you get to write in on a ballot, what's considered a valid vote. And that opens up the door to you not being a human being, because human beings have choices and you don't. You don't have agency. You just have to obey. That means you're not human. And if you're not human, none of the Constitution applies to you. And that will affect every war and everything we do going forward. Every country, China, North Korea, Iran, and Russia, see this coming, and they see, what does that mean? It means America's weaker because less people no one wants to be in a military where they're not considered a human being. To defend what? The right to be called a racist, to be called a sexist, to be called a phobe, an islamophobe all day long, told that I'm evil for wanting my country to be great. Who wants to fight and die for that? Who wants to fight and die to be more socialist and communist? Even the communists don't want to fight and die for communism. They have to be forced. Look at what's happening with Russia. Their people have to be forced to join the military. It's mandatory. It's mandatory in China to be part of the military. In North Korea, you're part of the military or you starve to death. They have to be coerced. And that means that the more the United States becomes progressive, the more that accusation equals guilt, the less human our citizens become, the less they want to defend this, and the stronger our enemies become. Look, I don't expect that anyone's watching. It's about 7 o'clock at night. We've been on for about an hour. It's New Year's Eve. And I'm giving you a lot of information that I don't think everyone's watching right now. You'll maybe see it tomorrow on New Year's Day, starting 2024. And you'll say to yourself, maybe I didn't think of it this way. The news media will never be this honest with you. They will never sit here and take the time to walk you through the consequences of what is happening in our nation and how it is changing. Whether you agree or not doesn't matter. It's whether or not you have a choice, whether or not you have decided that. See, I'm perfectly fine if you say, Mike, I understand the evidence that you presented. I understand the factors that are going on. I think you're wrong. Okay, fantastic. See, and again, I think you're wrong. You come to a different conclusion. Fantastic. If you tell me I feel you're wrong, I don't care. You can have whatever feeling you want. That's yours. I have my own feeling. Your feelings do not superimpose mine. They do not supersede mine. I have my own feelings for my life. You have your own for yours. You can feel whatever you want, and I don't care. Just like you don't care what my feelings are. You don't. We're here talking about law and consequences and the things that will impact our lives. That's reality. That's empirical. That's mathematical. That's semantic. We can absolutely equate this. We can graph this out. We can make a chart on it. I may be wrong, but we can factually determine whether I'm right or wrong. But you can't do that with feelings. So I don't care about the feelings. I really don't. And the more we are relying on feelings to guide our nation, the worse our nation is doing. Because feelings are transitory. Feelings are ephemeral. They don't count. They're like fog. You know it's there, but you can't really grasp it. You can't do anything with it. It's just there until it's not. And that's the problem with feelings. You don't run governments on feelings. No government runs on feelings. Well, maybe some dictators, but that's about it. So going into 2024, the thing we should be demanding, demand that President Trump be on the ballot. And if they say President Trump can't be on the ballot, write President Trump in. Dare the states to say, I don't care if you could be in New York State and 3% of New York State, which isn't true. 3% or 30% of New York could write in President Trump. And I damn them to not count 30% of New York as if they didn't exist. I dare them. They can't. They cannot deny that. They cannot invalidate that kind of people. Just have to stand up. If you're not able to write in President Trump, if they say you can't do it anyway. Because you're an American citizen, you're a human being, you have agency. But if you don't, if you just comply, If you just go down the list that they give you and the choices they tell you have now become a rabbit, not a human being. You're now in a cage, and they have control. They have the lock, they have the key. They're the ones who are in charge of America, not you. And that terrifies me. Hey, Graham. Graham says, by the way, John, thank you. Thank you for the New Year's wishes. And again, a continued success in going into New Year. Graham says, hey, Michael, just stepped in to say Happy New Year. Hope you're having a good one. I'm having a great time for New Year's. Thank you. Thank you, Graham. I know you're 3 hours behind in California. It's about 4 p.m. for you. It's about 7:30 here in New York. And this is how I spend my holidays. On Christmas Eve, I was here talking with you. Here it is. New Year's Eve, I'm here talking with you because I think you guys are great. And whether you see this live or you see it after the fact, I'm thankful. But I will ask for one thing from everyone who is watching this. Whether you're seeing it live or afterwards, please like, share, and subscribe. That's all I ask for. For 2024, we want to hit 5,000 subscribers. That's it. 5,000 subscribers. You can join my Patreon if you want. You don't have to. You can donate to PayPal if you want. You don't have to. That's not required. And I'm not asking you to do it because I'm a black man. Unless you feel guilty. If you're a progressive, you feel guilty. You know what? I'm a black man. I'm oppressed. Go and give me a like and a share. More importantly, subscribe. If you're progressive, fantastic. Send me a check and subscribe because that's what your ideology says. I'm black. I'm Hispanic. You have to do it. But for everyone else, which I hope is the majority of humanity, and I know it is, I'm asking you, please like, share, subscribe. Help us. We want to get to 5,000 subscribers. That's it. That's on YouTube. That's on Rumble. On 5,000 each. And I look forward for your help on that. It's free. It costs you nothing. And we would really appreciate that. That being said, so what about the rest of my predictions? So my prediction is that the Supreme Court will overturn Colorado and Maine because they're based on feelings, not fact. And it is a violation of due process to deny Trump and, more importantly, to deny Americans the right to make a choice, to have their voices heard, which is a violation not only of the 14th Amendment, but also the First Amendment as well. I think that President Trump will win the Republican nomination. I think he will take Carrie Lake of Arizona as his VP to help with the woman vote. I think that Vivek Ramaswamy will be made a Secretary of State. So will Tim Scott. He'll be not Secretary of State, but a Secretary of one of the departments of the government. So will Tim Scott. I think that Trump will win the election with or without various Democratic states that are already bluer than blue. He doesn't need to win a single one of them, and he will win this nation. And I think that you will be surprised to see how many votes Trump will get in New York and in California. You're going to see more Democrats cross the line and say they do not want Biden. One of the biggest things you're going to see, though, is the growth of the third party. I expect RFK as a third-party candidate will get more votes than any third-party candidate has gotten so far, which I believe was Gary Johnson, and he got 6% of the vote. No, it was Ross Perot. And I think you could see RFK Jr. getting more votes as a third-party candidate than Ross Perot did in the 80s. Will that be enough to change an election? No. Don't blame RFK. He's not going to be the reason why Trump wins or Biden loses. No. He's taking votes from the left and the right, like many independents would. But he's taking them about evenly. No. Trump's going to win. Trump's going to win the 2024 election, and you will see, just like in 2016, 1 hour after Trump was named the winner of the election, there will be riots from the left. They did it in 2016. They're going to do it again. You're going to see them come out and they are going to riot within an hour of the announcement that President Trump has won. And they're going to burn down a bunch of buildings and they're going to destroy the cities, especially the poor communities in cities, because they're going to say, oh, everything is wrong. Everything that we complained about in 2020, they're going to complain about in 2024. And they're going to say it's all wrong and it was stolen and everything was bad. And no one's going to shut them down when they're going to come out and they say, oh, the 2024 was stolen because of Republicans. You won't see Twitter blacking them out or Facebook or YouTube preventing people from being able to say that for years without an apology, just deleting their channels. No, you're going to see that they're going to say, yeah, that's probably true. That's what you're going to hear. That's what I predict is going to happen. And you're going to see the divide in America get wider and wider because the progressives don't believe you have a choice. I think we're going to see a backlash at our colleges. Even as we see Harvard. Harvard is losing its prestige. It is not. It has already been rated as the worst of the elite colleges when it comes to free speech. And I think that's going to continue. You're going to see professors leave. And you're going to see that Harvard is no longer going to be considered the pinnacle of college education in America. But it will be a progressive stronghold. It will become partisan and political and not about education. It is an indoctrination center. And we will see more and more of that. And you will see people more like Bill Maher and others that will come out and say their colleges that they went to are no longer about education. They're about indoctrination. You will see that come up. You will see in 2024 that inflation will go up roughly about another 6, maybe 7% at least. You will hear they're going to claim that Bidenomics fixed everything and nothing will be fixed. Your bills will be higher. As I said in the first part, food inflation will go higher. There is going to be less food in 2024 and 2025. And you're going to pay more for the food that is there. There will be even more people. I expect about 3 million illegal aliens will try to enter the United States in 2024. In part because they want to be here before Trump takes office and because they're starving. They're going to be starving in Central Africa. They're going to be starving in Central America and South America. And because they need food or they want food, they're going to come to America. You're going to see probably around 200, maybe 300, between 200 and 300 known or suspected terrorists are going to try and enter America in 2024. And there will be another announcement from the FBI, as they did about 2 years ago, that's going to say that there is a plot. A bunch of terrorists from Iran, backed by Iran, are going to try and infiltrate America and try to assassinate members of America's government. I think that's going to happen in 2024. You're going to see tensions escalate in Southeast Asia. You're going to see them escalate in the Middle East, and you're going to see the Ukraine-Russia war continue. And it will not end this year, although it will become more obvious that the Ukraine is going to lose. And you will see Poland militarize in proportion to that. The more that Ukraine loses, the bigger the army and flex that you will see coming out of Poland trying to prepare for the next step. In the Middle East, I predict that, of course, Hamas is absolutely going to lose. And the Hamas-Israel war will end somewhere around between April and June. That's going to end. Hamas will be virtually obliterated. But Israel will be demonized for that. And you will see billions of dollars that will go into rebuilding all of the Gaza Strip. That money is going to be diverted. Even though they're going to say they're going to rebuild Gaza, they won't. Hamas will not rebuild Gaza. They would prefer to allow the people to live impoverished lives with barely starving and barely able to have water, even though Hamas will have the funds and the capability to give their people better lives. They want the Palestinians hungry and impoverished to make Israel look worse and worse, and they will use the money to buy more rockets to prepare for yet another wave of attempted genocide. Israel, as a response, will build up its military and prepare its defenses, and they'll become a harsher nation because they have to, because they're under threat. Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis will continue to attack and, in fact, increase their attacks not just on Israel, but they're going to go into Syria, and you're going to see that become much more of a hotbed of fighting, and Americans will be drawn into that fighting more and more. We're going to see the United States under Joe Biden in 2024 increase the number of soldiers in harm's way fighting in the Middle East and also in Central Africa in a bid for Joe Biden to try and win votes, because the United States tends not to change a president during an active war. And Joe Biden's going to count on that. And he's going to have active conflict so that he can try and convince people not to change leaders in the middle of a conflict. Guaranteed, that's what he's going to try and do. So we will see U.S. soldiers being shot at and under fire in 2024 because of Joe Biden and him putting them in harm's way, most likely fighting various cells and agents of terrorism backed by Iran, although Iran won't care. You will see probably another 100 rockets, missiles, hypersonic missiles, and ICBMs fired by North Korea in 2024, which will cap the most rockets and missiles and ICBMs fired by North Korea under any president ever. Joe Biden has already exceeded all other presidents combined, their terms, 4 or 8 years combined. Joe Biden's already exceeded that, and we will see it go even higher. And so they will put more pressure on South Korea and Japan, and we will see Japan step up and continue to build its first army since 1945, and they will try and get that completed before the end of 2028. That's their time frame. You will see the Philippines start to militarize as well. They're going to step up building their army, and they're going to make an agreement with Korea and Japan for mutual self-defense. This is what I believe is going to happen in 2024. Inflation is going to, food inflation is going to be higher. People aren't going to be ready for that. Unemployment will go to about 4.2% at the peak of 2024. And then we'll see it drop back down just before the election. So right around the election, it'll be back to 3.7%, but it's going to hit 4.2% probably over the summer of 2024, and then retreat down just in time for the election. And Biden will say that he successfully fixed the economy and it's a soft landing, which is a lie, but that's what I think is going to happen there. I think Rishi Sunak is absolutely out, and the Tories, the Conservative Party of the United Kingdom, are going to lose their prime ministership. They're going to lose the election, and you're going to see the Labour Party step up. Keir Starmer is going to probably take the lead, and he's going to be in charge, and you're going to see the government of the United Kingdom shift more to the further left, more progressive, more openly progressive, and they're going to open up their borders even more. You're going to see a wave of Palestinians and Middle Easterners from Jordan, Jordan and Lebanon, probably also Syria, as well as Palestinians that are going to become refugees. And the majority of them are going to be going either to the United Kingdom or the United States, both legally and illegally. And so that's going to be the next wave of refugees. And you'll see Joe Biden will accept them, and he will take in over 50,000 Palestinian refugees in 2024 alone, without vetting any of these individuals. And there will be elements of Hamas and Hezbollah and Iran-backed terrorism that will be part of that acceptance. you will see crime increase in 2024, especially in New York City and New York State, because as police are being defunded to pay for these illegal aliens and these refugees, there's no money for the school system, there's no money for police officers, and police officers don't want to have to go through the hassle that the left is putting them into. You're going to see more crime in the major cities, and that's going to be a problem. And I think those are the major predictions I have for 2024. Obviously, as the year goes by, we'll see some of them come true, some of them won't, some will be true in part, some not so much. I look forward to you, my audience, holding me accountable, whether you have seen this live or whether you have seen this on New Year's Day or any time after that. Hold me accountable. Hold me up to these predictions. Let's see if I'm right or if I am wrong. I'm willing to stand before you and say, I got it wrong, or to say that I got it right, because you deserve the honesty. I'm not going to backtrack. I'm not going to try and reword it. These are the predictions I've made for 2024. I stand by them. We'll see if it comes true. With all of that said, let me say, I thank you for being part of my audience. I have had a wonderful opportunity in 2024 to be here with you, to be able to spend time with you, whether it's on Rumble, on YouTube, to grow the audience, even as the channel has been suppressed, even as we have seen them delete our videos, to limit the reach of our live stream, to try and deny us the access to you, so that you can make up your mind, your choice, and to have your interaction with us. That's going to happen in 2024 as well, but hopefully we will be able to hit our target of 5,000 subscribers with your help. And we'll be able to have more conversations. We'll get our phone system back up so that you'll be able to call into the program, and we'll hear more of your voices. Because I'm not going to back down. I'm in this with you. We're fighting for a better tomorrow. Whether you want to call it MAGA or anything else, we're here to fight to get a better tomorrow. And we do that together, not separated. I want you to have a phenomenal 2024. 2023 was miserable for me. A horrendous year. Lots of problems. I lost my home. I lost my studio. I lost 90%, 95% of everything I own in 2023. 2024 is a new beginning. I'm in our temporary studio here in the Bronx. We're rebuilding, we're restarting, and we go forward. We'll just restart. It's difficult, it's hard, but it's worth it. And you can do it too. The final thing I have to say here is, you may see this from time to time on our channel, but if you are feeling bad, if you feel like you're all alone, if you feel like harming yourself or others, please reach out. Reach out to the suicide hotline. You can also reach them on text at 988, and that will reach out to the suicide hotline as well. If you're suffering from domestic abuse or substance abuse, please call the national hotlines on that. We want you to be part of our audience in 2024 and 25 and going forward. We want you to be well and safe. Don't suffer in silence. Reach out to someone, anyone, everyone, so that we can speak to you, we can help you. Because, trust me, as bad as the year can be, and I know how bad it is, I lost everything. You can come back from it. I've been homeless before. It's happened to me twice. I understand what it is to be absolutely homeless. I know what it is to lose everything more than once. Don't worry. You can survive. You can rebuild. You can get more of everything you want. And it'll be difficult, but you can do it. And the world is better with you than without you. Last prediction. Do I think there will be an incident New Year's Eve downtown in New York City? And and or Chicago and or in LA. Yes, all three. There will be pro-Hamas activists. There will be members of the Democratic Socialists of America and Antifa that will be part of the crowds in New York, LA, and in Chicago. And I do expect that there will be skirmishes and that they will be arrested. I don't think it's going to be a riot. I don't think that there's going to be any kind of violence other than a couple of fist fights, but that normally happens during New Year's Eve. But I think you will see the signs there. You will see them agitating and trying to get onto TV live to push their message, to push their agenda, and to try and agitate people to try and start some fights. You will see it. Hopefully, it will be very, very few in number. And overall, it will wind up being just like any other New Year. With that all said, every Sunday at 2:30 p.m., we do a live stream with you. We reach out in all the social media to hear your voice, and we're going to continue to do that. We're on TikTok now, as well as on Rumble. We're going to keep moving forward because you matter. Your voice matters. You're not a category. You're not some equity list. You're a human being, and you are valuable, whether you're an American citizen or not. I think you're important. I know you are. You have agency in your life. You can turn around any situation. You will do it. And I'm going to be here looking forward to hearing from you when you do. I thank you for taking the time to be with me here at the end of 2023. Now go out with your friends or by yourself. Go to a bar. Go out wherever it may be. Hang out with some people. Watch the ball drop and start the new year, and start with some strength and knowing that at least this one guy on the internet is willing to say, I believe in you, and I think you're going to have a better 2024. Thank you, everyone, and I want you to be well.